Hey everybody, welcome back to another CODA Guild CODA Build video. I'm Andy, and this one is a special one today. I've been building task managers for ages, and I think one of the things they usually leave out is workload management, because task management is all about being intentional with your time and saying, this is what I choose to work on, and this stuff can fuck off. I'll do it another time. And those are two difficult things to manage in a single space. I think Asana does this really well, but you got to pay for it. Resource management does not come cheap until now. So this tool does a few things really well. And I built it for myself, which is why it's a little bit late this week. I've been testing it and refining it as I load it up with tasks for myself. So if you're familiar with Asana, it's going to look a bit similar. You've got recently assigned today, this week, next week, later down the side, and new tasks either created by you, assigned to you, end up in the recently assigned space. And you've got priorities, status, and there is some projects. But the key thing here is that we can go to workload and see across our team, how are people doing, where are we getting overextended, and do I have time? I can view a specific week in more detail and see by project where I'm spending most of my time. And then, of course, I've got all of my tasks based on priorities. So you can see we're doing this one now, and I can move tasks around. If I think, well, I'm really not going to have time to do this blog post today, then I'll just move it to tomorrow and free up a little bit of my time. Now, within individual tasks, I have the ability to use a timer here. And you can see I've been doing this for 18 minutes, and if start again, and it's going to run again. So that's a continuous timer you can use. Functionality as well for recurring tasks. So recording this on Fridays, I can make this weekly recur for 3 days, create my tasks. This template's now available in CODA Guild, along with 14 others and one new template a week. So for 250 Canadian for the year, you can get access to this tool and all of these other tools. And again, making new ones and taking your suggestions. So if I make the tool, you get the tool for free as well. What I want to do now is a bit of a feature deep dive. So I want to answer the question kind of how I've built some of this, especially since the live build video for this week got cut off. I got a call, we're trying to buy a house, and so I got a call from a insurance agent, just a very distracting kind of week, which I mean, this has been hugely helpful for because it's helped me sort of prioritize and sort through my time. Um, but yeah, I do want to show you kind of a couple key features of this. And so I know time tracking comes up quite often. So I will sort of show you how that's working. So within tasks, we've got the timer here, and this is just a button that is adding a new row to this time tracking table. And that is right here, ST for source table, time tracking. So it's like every time I click it, it's making a new row and marking it active. And when I click to stop, it is logging that time in that row. Start, it's going to add a new row. So here is that formula. In this case, is using with name to define the active task, and that's just looking up to the time tracking table and saying, well, where the task is this row and the person is this person, that we're going to call the active task. And then it's going to modify the rows. And if the task is there, so if there is a row there, then what we're going to do is push the end date time. If there isn't a row there that's marked active, then we're going to create a new one and mark it active. Okay, and we're also changing the status to in progress if it's otherwise. And actually, modify rows, this row, this should be only if it's not already in progress. So let's do that right now. I'll make that change. So it's like if status let's see, what do we want to say? If status equals not started, then modify rows. Otherwise, we'll do no action. Or because then if it's marked blocked or something, you can still add time to it and it won't change that. Now, why am I getting that flag on the if? Oh, because I didn't put the comma in after that condition. Okay, so there we go. The label is just updating to say the same. So if there's an active task, then we're going to say stop so that we can stop it and start if not. All right, now let's look at recurring tasks. There's a lot of different ways to do recurring tasks, um, and this is I'd say a limited implementation. It works for weekly recurring tasks, but let's say on Mondays we want to do weekly planning. All right, we want to start the day, and it's going to be a P1 priority, I think. So I guess what I'm going to do is, and these buttons will move it, from today to uh, there it is, and we'll put it on. So I'm going to put it on Monday the 10th. Okay, and I'll move it down to from this week down to next week. Now I could drag and drop that too. I don't know why I'm using the buttons other than to show that they exist, but now I'm going to move that up to the start here. So weekly planning, right? It's scheduled for next week. 1 hour is probably a lot. I think I can get away if I'm rigorous with my planning. I think I can do it in 30 minutes. So I'm going to, let's say, review recently assigned, adjust weekly workload. And maybe that's a bit, maybe that's fine. It's for me, it doesn't have a project, and 30 minutes is fine. And that's good. So we're going to make it a recurring task. And when I click this button, what we're doing is opening this new view of this recurring tasks table. And I'll show you over in the table itself. Really, all that's done is created a new row in recurring tasks. Okay. So I can pop that open again here, and it's the same one. So that button just makes this new row, and it pushes recurring, whatever the task is, to this kind of recurring task column up here, so you can see what you're trying to make recurring. Now I can delay the number of weeks. I mean, this is a spot I could add in monthly or daily there. I was focused on weeks at the time, so the infrastructure is there for you to build this out yourself. So I can say it repeats every 2 weeks if I want. In this case, I want to do it weekly. And I can either say a number of times I want to do it, or and then create one task. And if I say I want it to go for 4 weeks in a row, then 4 tasks, or I can do it forever. And when I click this Create Forever button, it's going to do a few things. So actually, first we'll do this limited time one. You can see it great. It's set to um, disable if you turn the never ends button on. So we've got 4 occurrences. Let's see what this button's going to do. Right, so from 1 to however many occurrences we say, we're going to do some things, and that's what this for each formula does. What are we going to do? We're going to duplicate the row. So whatever the task is, we're going to make some copies of it, and the due date is really the critical piece. And what we're doing is saying, well, 7 days later, because we're repeating weekly. If it's every 2 weeks, then now we're going to multiply 7 by 2 and then times however however far we are through this sequence. So if we're doing the first week, then that'll be a 1. If we're doing the second week, that'll be a 2, and the due date gets added for each successive row. We're also changing this row to say limited, and the other option is forever, and that is what there's an automation that runs that we'll look at after that. And then we're just going back to the My Tasks view. So looking at the forever button, it's pretty much the same. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I'm modifying the row first for whatever reason here, but that's really the difference is that forever piece. And what that does is there's a bunch of automations in CODA. If you're listening, please let us rearrange the automations so that you can sort through them a little easier. But in this case, it's this add weekly recurring tasks automation where every Monday and Sunday, every Monday, if we have any recurring tasks that are marked forever, then find those recurring tasks, and there's a button there that just says um, add another row. Okay, so this forever new capacity row is right here. So all that's doing is just making one more recurrence for the new week. So it's like every week you're adding a new recurrence. So let's make a couple of these and see what happens. We can make these 4, I guess, on this weekly planning. Actually, no, I'm going to use forever because I really do want to do it forever. So when I create this, hopefully it works. All right, back to tasks. There's my weekly planning for next week, and weekly planning on Monday the 17th, and weekly planning on the 24th, and that'll go as far ahead as I have weeks. All right, so Monday, April the 21st is where that ends. And the nice thing there is once I go over to my workload, now once I start adding these recurring tasks in, you can sort of see that, this week, for example, here's my weekly planning. Okay, so it's pushed out into my capacity, and that's kind of the benefit of having these recurring tasks um, integrated so tightly with your workload. And then if I want to delete them, let's go to, so this is my original task. I'm not going to delete it, but I'm going to go to the first one of weekly planning. When I scroll down to the delete, you can see it knows that this is a recurring task because it's a lookup to see if this task is in the recurring tasks table. And so now it's going to open this different dialog box where I can say, I just want to delete this event, or I want to delete this in following events. So if I want to delete week 5 only, and I go to this one and say delete recurring tasks, then this and following events is a much shorter list, right, compared to all events. And then I can just delete the recurrences and they'll all go away. So that's pretty cool. I know I say that at the end of like every one of my features. I'm like, that's pretty cool. But it is because I've done a lot of these implementations, and I think this is probably the cleanest I've done. So the last piece to look at is the workload itself. And I've been saying capacity a lot, but it's because I renamed this from capacity to workload. Um, Now, I've said here, like these are cards, right? So I can click on any one of these cards to open it up, but you mustn't. You must click on the magnifying glass because that's an open row button that's pushing the capacity weekly row to a setting in the back end right there, I think. And again, I'm saying capacity, but it's workload, right? So I could probably make this week number the display column. Doesn't really matter in this case. But the issue is, and you'll see it here, let's say I open this row up. This is a view of the tasks table, and it's got each day of the whatever week I've clicked on across the top as a group. So to get those days, um, and you see it's called a column is called work week. All right, it's looking up to this table called week, wherever the day is the due date. What's due date day? Right. Um, and so to get that to happen, I need to know what the current week or the current workload week is so that this table knows what the tasks are. And so if I click on a different workload week, this updates by the person. And I'll show you why this is important. So let's say I've opened up this row using this, so it's saying Monday, February the 3rd, right? Now, if I just click on this, it should be Monday, February 24th. But if I click on the card, these are still showing the whatever weeks are looking up to that setting. So it's like I need a way per person to be able to send this week number into that weekdays table so that it can then be pulled up and filter the right tasks. And the nice thing about this implementation is that I can now show however many workers I want, click the magnifying glass and see, in this case, Guy's workload for this February 17th. Got a nice light one here. And then move, to the next. It's got a new task on Wednesday. Um, and those next and previous buttons are nice there to move between workloads. But this means that, let's say when I open this week, this is cool too. So the projects are looking up to capacity as well. And that's just based on how a task is tagged. Um, yeah, the project is pulling a duration, the actual duration. What's workload weekly tasks? Well, we'll pull it up. See, some of this stuff I built and now I don't really remember. So this column is checking. Hoy. Okay, so with name is filtering and it's calling those capacity tasks. So it's saying, look in the tasks, find where the due date is this week, and it's the right person, and it's the right project, and then give me those tasks. And actually says if there aren't any, then say nothing, because otherwise you get those two little square brackets. I don't like those. Okay, but in terms of capacity, oh, this is cool too. So to get it then to add a row here, because I wanted a add row button, I just added it to this weekdays, because that's a lookup, right? So it's looking up to this table where the only thing that I have exposed here is the plus sign. So that lets me, within this view, easily hover over the date, say add task, and then it brings that new task down in here. And yeah, these are just advancing. These buttons are using the text column button to advance or de-advance. I don't know how to say that. Delete that one. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Please feel free to ask any questions about how I've built this. I I fucking love this template already. It's really helping me get organized and stay organized. And Yeah, really look forward to seeing uh, how people like it, how people use it, and how people change it. So I think one of the big things about CODA Guild in general is the ability to take these templates and mess with them, like make them yours, change it from employee surveys to staff questionnaires. It's like and merge it with a mood board so that when you're surveying someone, you're actually getting them to upload images or take your chat tool and merge that with this tasks and workload manager so that people, instead of having to, let's say, leave notes on the bottom here, what they can actually do is have a conversation. Um, so, I mean, that is what I've really made this library for, is these are jumping off points. These aren't intended necessarily to be fully fledged tools, although ones like this, where I've spent a lot more time on, they really can be used standalone. So that's it. That's all. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.